Shalom, this is Sir Alexander, and this is going to be my beginner's guide to Starcraft 2. I'm making this video for some friends that I have sold on Starcraft 2 who have never played 1, and some who have played 1 but have never really heard anything about 2. And this is going to be the racial overview for the Protoss, this first video being buildings and racial overview, and depending on how long it takes, I might start into units. So as the Protoss, and in StarCraft 2 in general, these are your harvesters. These will collect your minerals, and you will have a main building here that you start with, a nexus or a command center or a hatchery. You then build your harvesters from this building, and they will begin mining on these mineral fields. You have two different resources in this game, mineral fields and Vespian gas. So unlike something like Age of Empires, you only have two instead of 4 or something like that. Now, early in the game, you're going to want to build your pylon. Unlike everyone else, unlike the other races, Protoss warp everything in. So it actually warps in instead of having to use your harvester to build it, you can go right back to work as soon as you get it built. Now, I'm talking while I'm playing, so I'm not actually going to be playing that well, but I'm playing against a really stupid computer. One of the biggest keys to StarCraft 2 is always producing. So, you have to build buildings on a power field. This pylon gives you power in this circle, and it also ups your pop. Pop is how many units you're allowed to have on the field. So right now I can have up to 18 pop. Certain units cost more, and some units cost less. So now you can see on my production tab, or on this building tab, I can build another nexus, which I obviously don't want. A forge, or I can build an assimilator. An assimilator and a nexus are the only buildings that you don't build in a power field. Now I'm going to go ahead and build two assimilators so I can start building power. Note, if this was a real game, I would totally lose. This is a terrible build order. So I'm going to go ahead and build 2 gateways because I want to build units. And I also want to get higher up the tech tree. Gateways build your standard units. They enable zealots, and so you can start building zealots, and you can also build stalkers, high templars, and dark templars, and sentries from your gateway, though you need a cybernetic score to produce most of those. A cybernetic score is purely a tech building. You can't build anything from your cybernetic score by itself. As soon as these are finished warping in, I'll go ahead and warp in a cybernetic core. Now I'm also going to warp in a forge so I can show you that. A forge is your tech building for your units. This is where you can upgrade your attack, your shields for your buildings as well, and your armor. This is your gateway. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Before I show you what you can build from the gateway, I'm going to go ahead and warp in a cybernetic core so that we'll be working on warping in. Your gateway's standard unit, the standard foot unit, which is the zealot, and I will begin building those as soon as I warp in another pylon because I am supply blocked, as it is saying. Your zealot is a very strong melee unit, and you always want to have a few of these in the early game just in case you're getting rushed. These will be coming out fairly soon as that pylon gets up, and I just hope that the computer's not smart enough to win at this point. The forge enables the cannon, and I'm going to go ahead and put one of these up in the mineral line. The cannon is a defensive structure that automatically fires. If you've played something like Age of Empires, it's about the equivalent to a watchtower, except it does a lot more damage than the watchtower. Now, is your main building, and a racial bonus that you get from this building is the chrono boost. What it does, and I will show you here in just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and produce 2 zealots out of these 2 buildings. Actually, wait, no, let me warp in another pylon. I will show you that bonus in just a moment. So these are my guys. Special about those, you just have to build those to be able to harvest gas. Okay, I'll show you this in just a moment. The cybernetic core. This allows you to research the warp gate, which I will show you what that does. This is a tech that, as a Protoss player, you should really always do. Hallucination, and I'll show you what that does in a minute. And then you can upgrade your air armor and your air attack. So I'm going to cancel you. Now, I will show you what this does. I'm building 2 zealots, so these 2 are building at the same time. If I chrono boost 1, this now builds at 25% speed. So as you can see, it's going to be finished a good bit faster than the other one. Chrono Boost is something that you want to use a lot when you have the energy. Chrono Boost costs energy, and as you can see this purple bar here? This is the energy of this building. Right now I have 88, now 89, now 90, and it costs 25. So energy recharges, and there's nothing really special about that. I'm going to go ahead and build 2 sentries, because there's some action with the sentry I want to show you as well. Actually, no, I'll probably do that in my units. But anyways, so I'm going to chrono boost that to get it done faster, the warp gate tech, and that is something important that I want to show you. Now you have 3 options. The Twilight Council, the cybernetic score makes 3 buildings available, and each one of these makes the respective one lower building available. You have the Twilight. This is a tech unit for your zealots and stalkers, the Stargate, which is what lets you build air units, and your robotics bay. This enables you to build transports, observers, and heavy ground units. I'm going to go ahead and put out some more ground units because I don't want to lose. And I'm going to do one of the things that you have to do in Starcraft 2, and that's expand. I know I'm safe to do that because this computer's a wimp. Now, in Starcraft 2, unlike something like Age of Empires, you have all of your expansions are laid out very nice and neatly. So here you have a crystal field and a geyser. Here you have crystal field and the geyser. These ones are gold. Your harvesters will bring back more per trip than most other ones. So in the Twilight Council here, which is enabled by the cybernetic score, I have 2 options here, blink and charge. And I am in a fight here, but he's going to retreat because they're losers. Charge allows your zealots to move, just be all around more awesome, and I'll show you what that does. From here you have the Phoenix, which is an anti-air fighter. You have the Void Ray, which is surgical strike craft, and then the carrier. And from here you have a transport, an observer, which is a detector. This is a very important thing. If you see that word down there, detector, this means that he can detect hidden units or cloaked units. And I'll show you an example of that also. This is an immortal, a very powerful ground unit, as is the Colossus. Now you have 3 different units. You have 4 more buildings that you can build here. You have a Dark Shrine and a Templar Archives. A Templar Archives allows you to build High Templars, and a Dark Shrine allows you to build Dark Templars. Then you also have the... I will show you here in just one moment. You also have the Fleet Beacon allows you to build heavy-duty aircraft, and then you have the Robotics Bay, which allows you to build and upgrade the Colossus, which are just uber ground units. So my army is sitting here. Now, let me just remind you, if this was a normal game, I would totally be pwned, just because I'm doing much at all. I'm just kind of like building here. Now, the Warp Gate tech is done, so I will show you what that has done in just a second as soon as I get another pylon in so I have some pop. And I'm going to go ahead and warp... Actually, no, I'm not, because this is not my units video. Charge is almost done, so I'll be able to show you what that tech does. I'll go ahead and show you that in this one, and then in my units video. Okay. The warp gate technology that you research from here is all important, because what it does is it allows you to change these buildings into warp gates. And actually I'm going to change one back out of it. Now, if I build a zealot here, it's going to build, and you can see that bar there, that's how long it's going to build. With warp gate tech, I can just warp that in. And so now it takes a total of 5 seconds, I believe, and he is already warped in. And now I have that is recharging. It's got 10 more seconds left. So with warp gates, you can produce units, I think, about twice as fast. Especially since the heavier units, like the Stalker, normally take, from here the Stalker will take 42 seconds to build, whereas here it will always take the same amount of time because all of the units recharge speed. So here's an Overlord scouting me. That's a Zerg unit. Now, Zerg will be next. I'll talk about them later. But I think that this is an overview of all the buildings. The mothership, the Fleet Beacon allows you to build a mothership, which is the ultimate Protoss warship, and comes from your Nexus. It also allows you to build the carrier, which is a really cool unit. And I'll be talking about this again in my units overview, which will be the next video that I'll be doing. So I'm going to warp in a few pylons here, and cannons are pretty handy. Maybe I'll get a shot off here at this Overlord. There you go. So you can see that cannons do an impressive 20 damage And Zealots, which are a standard ground unit, do 8. So you can see that they're pretty powerful, unlike something like Age of Empires where cannons are pretty weak. So a really handy thing that you can do if you're in the lower brackets is to wall off with cannons. Now this is really dumb. You would never really do this in-game unless you were in the lower brackets. The higher tier players would not do this. But, oh, I'm sorry, one other thing about StarCraft 2. Not only do you have to build in a pylon and in power, but you have to, and you can warp in, like I said before, you can just warp in, and now this probe can go back to work and do whatever he wants. But one other thing, you can, and now I completely forgot what I was going to say. Well, I was going to tell you something that I remembered to tell you, and now I completely forgot. So hopefully that will come back to me, and I will tell you my units tab, and my units overview. So thank you very much for joining me for this, and I hope that you will join me if you're beginners. I hope this has helped to just give you an overview of what the buildings do. I'm going to recap here in just a moment, and I hope that I will be able to do the rest of the videos and that you'll join me for my unit. So just a quick overview. Your Nexus builds your harvesters, which harvest your crystals and your geysers. Cannons are defensive structures enabled by the Forge. Gateways are units that produce your basic units in the beginning of the game. Cybernetics Core is your building that allows you to get the Warp Gate tech and hallucination. It also allows you to build the Stargate, Robotics Bay, and the Twilight Council. The Twilight Council enables the Templar Archives, which lets you build High Templar and Dark Templar. I'm sorry, the Twilight Council allows you to build Dark Templar. The Robotics Facility allows you to build the robotics and enables them the most powerful Protoss ground unit. And the Fleet Beacon allows you to build the mothership and the carrier, as well as upgrades for both. So thank you for joining me, and one quick thing, actually no, I'll show you that later. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me for my units overview and